Welcome back, everybody. In this lesson, you'll learn to use message boxes to collect user input, which is a really easy way to add interactivity to your project. In the last lesson, you learned how to use the message box command in tkinter to display a quick output message for the user. In this lesson, you'll learn the second use of message boxes, which is to get a simple yes, no, okay, cancel, true, false type of answer with a button click from the user. Can you see the difference in this type of message box? It's got two buttons and we're asking the user to make a choice. In order to demonstrate this, we'll create a second button on the screen to quit, and then we'll use a message box to check, are you sure you want to exit? It's a nice simple use, and you can probably make use of this in your own program. So you can see what I've done. I've copied the convert button commands. I just used copy and paste and then made a couple of small changes. I changed the name of the button, obviously. I just chose close. You can choose anything you like. I changed the text that's displayed on the button, and I obviously put it into a different position. If I put two buttons in the same position, one would overwrite the other. So do look out for that. If you make a button and you think, I can't see the new button I've made, it's probably because it's hiding under another button or something. But I've put this in row 2, column 2, where there isn't anything else. And when I run my program, you can see there's a new button on the interface. It doesn't do anything yet. And so in order to make the close button functional, we link it to a procedure. And here's the extra code that I have to use to do that. I just write command equals and then just pick a name for the procedure I'm going to write. I've called it close app because that's what it does, closes the app down. And then I've got to go towards the top of my program and write that procedure, which is pretty short, whatever name I've chosen, and the command is destroy, which sounds a bit radical, but actually all it will do is close down that main loop that's running all the time that your app is open. We've called it window. Some people call it root. Anyway, we've called it window. So window.destroy will just, it's like exiting from that main loop, and it closes the app window down completely, removes it from RAM and everything like that, which is exactly what we want to happen when they click the close button. So what I think you should do now is pause this presentation and add that button and make that procedure and run it to make sure that your program works. And then we'll go on to add a message box that asks the user, are you sure you want to quit? Okay, so hopefully you've now got a working close down button on your app. You can use that on any app. So I'm going to use a new kind of message box, which is, you can see it starts MSG, the same as the output message box, but the text is different. Ask, OK, cancel. And as before, two parameters. The first one is the title that appears in the strip at the top of the message box, and the second parameter is the text that will appear in the message box. So when I run that code, wherever I include it in the program, I'll see a box somewhat like that. I don't have to make the question mark, it'll just do it automatically. Are you sure? And the two options are OK and cancel. You can use any wording that you like. As before, there are variants. So ask OK, cancel will get you a box that looks like that with OK and cancel as the two buttons. There are two others though. There's ask yes, no. So in my example here, do you know your password? Yes or no. So any kind of yes no question that you want to ask your user, you can use an ask yes no box. And last but not least, ask, retry, cancel. So sometimes you want your user to try again. You must have seen that in lots of different programs that you've used in the past. So you pick whichever one of those you want. As you can see, in each case there are two buttons. The first one is the default, so that's the one that's highlighted. Can you see it's outlined in blue? And then the user either clicks one of those or presses return, and it will return a value to the program representing their choice. So what it returns is a Boolean value, so true or false, not the word true, but the Boolean value true. The first button that's labeled OK, yes, or retry, that will return true, and the other button will return false. As with any other returned value, you've got to either save it or use that value, or the effect of the button click will be nothing. So you've got to somehow adapt your program, not just to display the message box, but to make use of the returned value. So let's look at that in practice. Here I've saved the result of are you sure? Are you sure you want to exit? I've saved it as a variable called want exit, just to make things easy for myself so I can remember what that variable does. So let's see how we might use that variable in the procedure. So here's the close app procedure. I've asked them, are they sure they want to quit? Saved that result as a variable called want exit. And then if want exit is storing the value true, then and only then will I destroy that window. In other words, close the app. It's pretty straightforward. It's just Python skills that you've used a million times before. The only difference is we're using a message box this time. We can make it even simpler, but only do this if you want to. Obviously, the message box returns a true-false value, so we can actually use the message box as the logical test in an if statement like this. So after the word if, we put the message box command, and the if statement will use whatever value is returned by the message box. So that's an even quicker way of writing the same program. Use either of those that you like, and I suggest you try that now and just make sure it works. And if it is working, you'll see something like this. So a new window opens. The focus of the program has moved to the new window, the message box, and the OK button. And until the user clicks on one of those buttons or presses enter, the program will pause. So I suggest you try that now. And your work is to add an exit button to the currency converter with obviously a message box, as we've just seen. Add an exit button to your own coursework, and as you're developing your project, look out for other possible uses of yes, no, true, false type of input, and just be aware that a message box is a really easy way to get that input. It's much easier than building your own buttons or your own text boxes. With a single line, you just take care of the whole thing. Of course, you're limited to true, false, yes, no answers, but that's a lot of the input that you want will be of that sort. So I strongly recommend you make use of that in your project to save yourself time and effort. Okay, so I have one more lesson in this series, and that will show you how to save to a text file from your program using tkinter and integrating that with your tkinter interface. See you then. Cheerio now.